Welcome to Costly Conversations. My name is Aaron, and this is episode 99. Today's guest is Michaela Elizabeth. And before we get into her story, because it's a really awesome story and you need to hear about it, I do want to talk about episode 100. That's going to be a special episode. We're going to be doing a giveaway. We're going to have some of our greatest hits, such as, some of our previous guests are going to come on and talk with us for a minute. But the giveaway, you're wondering about the giveaway. We're actually going to be giving away this right here. This is a drill index. It's a card deck that gives you a ton of options for when you're at the range, you're training, you're getting right, you're getting better. It gives you options for different drills that you can run, so you're not just continuously running the bill drill all day, every day. I'm talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Also, the CEO of Drill Index is going to be coming on the show to just talk about it a little bit in a little bit more detail. So make sure you tune in, and we can talk about that next episode. Maybe we'll call on you and say that, hey, you won a Drill Index, and that'll be awesome, right? In addition to that, the CEO of Leisure Carry is going to be coming on the show to talk a little bit about his beltless carry option. This is actually really cool because if you don't want to wear a belt because you're wearing basketball shorts, sweats, you could be wearing jeans, you could be wearing, khakis or whatever, khaki shorts or whatever it is that you're wearing, and you don't want to wear a belt. This actually clips into your pants and acts as that belt acts as that firm material for your holster to clip onto and have a good anchor point so that you can safely and comfortably conceal carry your firearm, your handgun, and not require additional like belt, like a full belt that you'd have to wear all day. This gives you options, and that's awesome. So, oh, a couple of things. The CEO of X Tech that he was on the show last week, Jeremy, he said he wants to donate up to $100 worth of products from his website. So if you want to win that, here's your opportunity. And in addition to some cleaning kits from Otis, a big supporter of what we do here, um, we will have an opportunity to win this RFID Rapid Safe from Hornady Security. And I think you're going to be super happy when you get one of these because just the RFID tech in them is super cool because you can literally put like a little pin, not a pin, but like an RFID sticker on the back of your phone case. You can put it an RFID tag on your watch band so that you can quickly and efficiently access the handgun safe. And even if you don't have a handgun, you can store other things in there and be able to quickly and efficiently access it, but also it being way more secure than just sitting out there on your desk. Um, there's a few other little things I want to give away, but those are the main things. And you're probably wondering, well, how do I enter, right? Like, what do we have to like sign up for something or do we have to buy? Nope, you don't have to buy anything. All I want you to do is call the hotline and leave a message. So how do you access the hotline? Speakpipe.com/costly pod. Links in the comments, links in the pinned comment, link is in the description of this video, show notes, etc. And all you have to do is hit the record button and say like, hey, my name is such and such, or you don't even have to share your name. Just let me know how are you enjoying the show? How long you've been listening? Is there a favorite episode? Do you have a favorite guest? Maybe you've only been listening for one episode. You thought this was great, or maybe you thought this was like, okay, but you still want to share um, how you're feeling. Maybe you just want to say something encouraging or whatever it is you want to say. Please share, and that will automatically enter you in to the giveaway. The only thing that you have to do when you record your voicemail, keep it under 90 seconds. Try to keep it tight, but also please leave an email address so I can make sure that I can respond to you and ask you for a shipping address and such, because I want to make sure you can, get your prize. I don't want to sit on this stuff. So make sure you do that. Okay, so let's get to the show. Michaela Elizabeth, episode 99 of Costly Conversations podcast. Michaela she's a trooper. Unfortunately, she was disabled a few years ago. She is wheelchair bound. She's got an awesome dog named Tucker and an amazing family who supports her in her tough situation. But okay, there's a lot of people who are wheelchair bound who have service dogs, and there's a lot of people who have families take care of them, XYZ. What's different about her? What's different about her is she's still competing. Like, she's in competition shooting. In fact, she started competition shooting after the incident. I don't want to give too much away because she gets into the story in some detail, in some great detail. So hour and a half conversation, right? But unfortunately, we did have a little bit of an issue with the audio on my side. If for some reason you are having issues getting through the audio because it just doesn't sound quite as good as you're used to, don't worry. I am going to release over on youtube.com/ at Gun Club Radio. We're going to release a lot of the highlights from this episode, so you will be able to go back and listen to Michaela's answers to some of the questions, share her thoughts, share her extended thoughts, and we'll make sure that a lot of these highlights are available. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you got the notifications on because I want you to be able to get those clips and share them out. Share her story. Share the fact that she's out here doing amazing things and support her. Make sure you follow her on social media. Make sure you are, sending her encouraging notes because, this stuff is tough and we want to make sure that we're supporting our own. That said, we've been talking for long enough. Thank you so much for listening. And let's get into the episode. I guess we should start at the beginning. Like, how did you end up in a chair?
Yes. So I have a genetic connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I have the hypermobility type. There's a bunch of different types, and each can affect the body differently. Because of that, I have other medical conditions, and one of them was what's called the tethered spinal cord. And so, essentially, in a nutshell, my spinal cord was not had an abnormality to it, and so that was actually a congenital defect, but it went missed. And so I that defect was making my spinal cord have strokes, and it wasn't caught as soon as it could have been. And so that is what caused my spinal cord injury. So that's why I can't walk. But I do have, like I said, that connective tissue disorder, other health conditions that kind of come along with it. A lot of people tend to get I joke they're the extra toppings. And I try to focus on what it is that I can do instead of what I can't do, because for me that's how I keep my healthy mindset. And I think I'd rather, I could lay out everything that I can't do or all of the things that I need help with, but it's not how I want to live my life. Instead, I focus on, hey, I get to do this cool stuff when I'm up to doing that cool stuff. And yeah, I think that's just me.
That's a really very positive way to think about it, but also very practical because, like
Mhm.
you said, there are some things that even though you'd like to do it at the time, and it's generally within your ability, maybe at this time you can't because something's flaring up. Like something, people assume that
Right.
if you were walking or like you, figure skating and, being athletic and university, just kind of living the life of like a quote unquote normal young lady, right? And then
Right.
all of a sudden you're not at uni, you're not, showing up to class, you're not figure skating, and people follow up and realize that, oh, she's been going through something.
Mhm.
Do you get that a lot where people are like, oh man, so like what happened?
And so it's nice in a way because there's people who only know me in the wheelchair. And it's not to say that I'm a different person, but I kind of am. Like I have a different perspective on life. I'm very much um, not a everything happens for a reason person. I think that if someone has that mindset and that's how they cope, that's totally okay. But I'm in the boat of life throws things at everybody and is hard at times. And for some person that could be financial struggles, relationship, health issues that are quote unquote less than or worse than mine. And I just don't think that we should compare struggles in that sense, because life is life for everybody. And life doesn't discriminate in terms of giving everybody like a little bit of something to have to deal with, if that makes sense. Um, it's certainly a little awkward when, you meet someone and they're like, "What happened?" And yeah, I mean, there wasn't like a single incident that led up to, or a single date, I should say. I mean, there was and there wasn't, so yeah, it's a little awkward, but the nice thing about the gun community is it's something that's unique to me in the wheelchair. And so it's not until like I get to know somebody and like, you're more friendly with them that then it goes into like, hey, like what's up? And or I'll share a little bit because I know they're probably wondering. Um, but yeah, it's weird and it's not weird at the same time, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you, of course, for kind of like helping us understand that
Yeah.
portion of your life. And, I kind of
Mhm.
wonder, like, did you have like friends from university or people that you kind of knew loosely who,
Mhm.
when they found out that, your life had changed, were they like, oh my gosh, like, what happened?
Yeah. There were like I had some friends from college come in and visit me in the hospital and stuff like that. But over time, people move on with life and
Mm,
grow apart in that sense. And so, yeah, I mean, mostly my family is they're why I'm able to go do the fun things at the gun range and kind of be where I'm at currently. So I'm definitely
yeah.
thankful for my family because I mean they went through everything I went through. They also went through in their own way.
Yeah. Well,
But
shout out
I
to
think
them.
it's yeah, definitely. Mom and dad and my big sister Rachel, and they've just been incredibly supportive. And um, my service dog Tucker, he's not here at the moment. He's off playing ball. It's his favorite thing to do when it's not be beside me. But he allows me to have so much more independence and confidence in the independence that I can have. So he's a big part of that. He's all over the Instagram feed for sure. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's almost like his page. We gotta. It's like, wait,
I
where's the
mean,
shooting? It's Tucker's world. We're just living in it.
it is. He has his own Instagram as well. It's Happy Spoo, Happy Spoo, because Tucker's a black standard poodle. For those who do not know him already, I joke that my Facebook page is just it's Tucker's now because I have to just post photos of him.
Hmm.
There's extended family friends, everybody. They all just want to see Tucker. It's a little bit of me, and it's mostly Tucker, and
That's
then
funny.
Tucker and I, of course. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's fair enough.
yeah.
Let's kind of dive into for my gun nuts out there. Shout out to y'all. Let's dive into the shooting thing because
Yeah.
we've been talking about you getting actually doing competition shooting, not getting into it, but you've been shooting, competing, training, doing some force on force stuff, and
Hmm.
it's been all very exciting. And I'm just like, hey, like be careful, like don't forget, like you are in a wheelchair. Let's not get shot in a weird way. You know what I mean? And you're just like,
Yeah.
we got it. I'm like, okay, well,
I'll say this: I push my limits, but I don't do anything that I know I can't push myself to do. You know,
mm,
like I've mentioned to you before, I can focus on the things that I can't do, or I can see, hey, how far can I take what I can do and
right,
push that training to that level, So
yeah,
I don't go crazy, I guess. I
right.
mean,
Oh,
most people might not think that okay, a 24-year-old young woman in a wheelchair that's a smaller girl like would have the guts to go shoot a full auto, but I do. So that's fun there. But yeah.
nice. Well, let's talk about it. How did you even get into shooting? Was this
Yeah,
before or after? Um,
after.
I would say it was after. So,
Yeah.
like, how does one, a young lady, wheelchair bound, if that's the appropriate way to say it,
Mhm.
say, "Hey, I'm just gonna go shoot some guns." Like, is that just a conversation? Like, how does that even happen?
Yeah, so yeah, it was I started to realize that I wouldn't have much of a means to self-defense, and as I decided to think about, like, all right, down the road, independence wise, what can I do? And just in general, like, we have the Second Amendment in America, and that's something that I value. And so my dad and I just, like, slowly but surely started to have conversations. I didn't grow up surrounded with guns. However, one of my grandparents, my grandfather was a hunter, and so it wasn't something I was directly involved with, but I sort of knew of it, if that makes sense. I asked him for a pink BB gun one year, and he got me it. So that's upstairs somewhere. I haven't quite gotten rid of it, and I don't think I will. And if I do, it'll probably go to a young girl in my life that's special enough to kind of pass that torch. I think that's what he'd like. But yeah, my dad and I. So it was October 2022 that I first shot a gun. My dad and I took the safety courses that we needed to and applied for our license to carry in my state, um, or our state, I should say. And then we both bought pistols, and, we just started going to the range. Thanks to my dad and my parents, I should say, both their support. Um, we were able to do private lessons, some group classes, things like that, and it quickly became something like just the passion. I could feel it in my blood. I just like the adrenaline. I wasn't not hitting the rink skating anymore, but that fire in me kind of, it started to come back. That was dormant for many years because it had to be, or I didn't have another outlet, I guess would be the right way to put it. Um, so yeah, my dad and I started shooting, and you know then I'm like, oh, like, let me just try to like get better than him because that'd be fun. Um, and yeah, we took the ball rolling, and it's kind of how it started. Just a dad and daughter, you know, wanting to respect the Second Amendment and have fun together and see where we can get our own skills.
Yeah, I mean that's first of all that's awesome. Just the idea that a father and daughter, because for people who know, I have all girls, and a dad and daughter being able to go to the range and have a good time, and of course you being the competitor and the athlete that you have been and continue to be,
Mhm.
wanting to be like, I think I got him. I think I got this.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
you got this for now, but I got you on the next one. Like just taking
Yeah.
you to that next level. I love to
No,
see
he
that.
fully respects that I've got him, I think. He's nodding his head. He does.
Shout out, definitely shout out to him and
Yeah.
him going on that journey with you. And obviously, like we
Mhm.
mentioned, the journey that you guys have been on as a family, the
Mhm.
four of you plus, you and Tucker and your mom and dad and your oldest sister, and
Yeah.
that has got to be just tremendously difficult. Because
Mhm.
just one more time, when did you start to develop um, the situation where you ended up having to be wheelchair bound?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I guess I should have led with that. So it was November 2018 that I lost my ability to walk or stand. Um, I had symptoms leading up to that. Perhaps actually down the road, once we chat a little bit, there's somewhere that has my story up for people to read if they're interested more. But yeah, November 2018. So it's been 5 years for me. But it was a little over a year after I lost ability to walk that I finally had the surgery to release the spinal cord, and it's called like detethering, for anyone that wants the details there. And so that was to stop the progression. Uh,
Mhm.
I was I was not well health wise. I was really sick. It was going to continue taking further function away. It was not expected that I would improve at all. It was, like I said, it was a surgery to stop the progression.
Mhm.
So any function I did gain back, which I did get some, I am blessed to have gotten back, and you know I'm really grateful, that part. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's definitely. I mean, it's not only a life change for me, but it's a change for my family as well, because of course parents want the best for their kids, right?
Right.
Um, and so, I wouldn't go back, and I'd be like, I'd be all scared if I like could go tell myself like, hey, this is gonna happen to you, right? And so I think that's the beauty in that there isn't a time machine. But in a way, maybe I could go back and tell myself like, hey, go see these doctors because they're the ones that are going to figure out the puzzle for you. But I can't. And so, yeah, but I think it's good that you touched upon that too, because, as much as it's been a life change for me, it's my family as well. It directly impacts them. And it's, um, as parents and as a big sister, I know that, if they could change the way things are, they certainly would, because we want the
Yeah.
best for our family and our friends.
It's only natural and only right that
Yeah.
you want to protect people from everything in life, and you have to, like even as a dad, you be a helicopter parent a little bit, and just like, hey, don't do that, don't even open the car door because these kids be, dinging themselves in the head with the car door and then smashing their fingers and
Right.
like, I don't even want to get into it, PTSD, and just so obviously, shout out to your parents and your
Yeah.
sister, and those who are around you who have supported you in this journey, in this path, because it's been a long 5 years. Like everybody's been thinking about their own life, 2020 and things that have happened, and like, okay, yeah, but like,
And the
and
first 2 years of it were spent, you know, declining, not having the right answers I needed from a medical standpoint, and then
mm,
also recovering from major surgery on, spinal cord surgery, that and the pain and the muscle spasms and all that stuff. It took a while to get to where I'm at, to where I can, to an extent, be able to do go and enjoy things and do activities. For a while it was just,
yeah,
you
like
know
shooting,
the pain was like all that, you
yeah,
could see. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I guess we'll fast forward back into the shooting world, and of course, if we need to
Yeah.
go back again, we will, because we're just not afraid to do that. But you started shooting. How did you get to the point where you're at SIG Academy and you're shooting, you're having a good time? Like, did you guys say like, "Hey, you want to try some new ranges?" And SIG Academy's in a whole different state. Let's just go there. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, Sig Academy is about an hour away, so we
Yeah,
don't live too far from New Hampshire. And so, uh
yeah, hours an hour.
well, just that's where SIG is in New Hampshire, but in general of New Hampshire, we're not far without having to, say where I live. So we
Sure.
go up there. We go up there frequently for errands, and there's no sales tax up there, but there is in Massachusetts. So, um, yeah, I guess thinking back, so we started doing, the gun journey together. And um, I think later on when we do this segment talking about guns, I'll share what I bought for the first time and stuff, and maybe why I regret that and I don't like it. So
Hmm.
stay tuned for that, I guess. But
Stay tuned, guys.
yeah, I do have problems with my neck as well. And so I didn't know. I was like, I'll probably only be able to shoot a 22. And if that's all somebody can shoot, that's totally fine. But I quickly learned that, I can shoot the 9, So then it was, yeah, like January 2023 that I got my SIG M17 9 millimeter. Um, and then, like I said, we just continued training together, my dad and I. I joke to him, and I think you'll appreciate this joke. When I was little, of course, there was the dad tax on the Halloween candy.
Hmm.
Now there's the daughter tax on the ammo bin.
Ah. But yeah, I actually had to administer some dad tax the other day. We had some goldfish, and just like,
Yeah,
listen, if I open this pack, it's about to be Uncle Sam all up in it.
yeah,
So
definitely.
definitely understand
Um,
that.
yeah, so anyways, I kept training, and I learned of the Adaptive Defensive Shooting Summit. And that is just, I mean, I could really talk for hours about what that summit means for me, but SIG is a sponsor, not only Sig Sauer, but Sig Sauer Academy of that summit. And so it is held there at SIG.
Can we actually take a moment because I'm aware of what they do, what it kind of like how powerful that organization is in the lives of
Mhm.
people like yourself.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend too long talking about them, but can we just kind of talk a little bit about what they do at kind of in an umbrella, like in a broad sense, like what the Adaptive Shooting Summit is, does, and how it's
Yeah,
actually impacted you?
definitely. But so that's what brought my dad and I to go check out SIG and visit the range at SIG, was that I knew I would be attending ADSS, is what we call it for short. But
Yeah.
the Adaptive Defensive Shooting Summit, ADSS, is an event run by Trevor Balcom, who's a uh, amazing guy and phenomenal person. I'm feel blessed to have met him and be able to call him a friend. But he is the organizer of this event, and Trevor and his team, the match instructors Tom and Jason, they put on this summit that's usually about 3 days, I believe. And there's training days. You can pick what training opportunities you want to do, and then at the end there's a competition. And so there's people that are, spinal cord injuries. They might be in a wheelchair for another health condition, amputees. There's blind competitors. And what they do is they figure out, there's some people that have never shot a gun before. That's okay. They come out, they give them the training that they need. They have incredible volunteers. And like I said, the Trevor and, Tom and Jason, they're all knowledgeable um, in regards to disabilities and how to help somebody be able to shoot that has a disability, whatever that might be. And also just fellow competitors help each other out too. So they'll teach people what they don't know, and how to safely shoot, and explain, how competition works and all of that, and get them involved. And there's like Battle Buddy 3 Gun. Sure, a lot of listeners are familiar with that organization.
Hmm.
They'll be doing 3 Gun. There'll be like Steel Challenge for people to do. You can sign up for every first time competitor has to do the beginner pistol course, and then Stop the Bleed, which I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to take that, because I think Stop the Bleed is something that, there's car accidents and there's people that don't know how to use a tourniquet, and be able to provide, resources that way, and to not only yourself, potentially your family or your friends that you're with. So um, I did that. And Trevor was amazing in modifying the training schedule for me, because I knew I didn't have a lot of endurance to be able to do like 3 full days plus, or well, including the match, I should say. So he was like, "Hey, yeah, sure, if you want to come out and do this for a few hours, that for a few hours," and they made sure I was, safe with the gun, and did a private assessment that way. And then he was just like, "What do you want to go do?" And I'm like, "Oh, like everything."
Hmm.
It's awesome. So yeah, that's what the event is in general. Adaptiveshoot.com is where people can go for more information. They also have an Instagram and Facebook page with some stuff, and I certainly share my direct experiences with that on my Instagram page. But really exciting that Adaptive Defense is now a 501(c)(3). So Trevor and all of the hardworking people that make this event happen. I hope that they get all of the sponsors and donations and support, because, you know, this event means a lot to me, means a lot to other people. And I want to see other people that are disabled, and mostly, I mean, everybody, but mostly women. If there's another woman who can come out and learn what she needs to learn, and then feel empowered and safe with a firearm, I think that's everything. And this is a summit that has a safe space with people that are knowledgeable. SIG Academy gives, some of their instructors to help out as well. You're at one of the coolest places to be for firearms, for one,
Yeah.
and just surrounded by good people.
Now, you mentioned the word instructors, and obviously you've been training there, you've been doing some competitions there. We will talk about you actually running some actual, like USPSA. Was it actually USPSA or like IDPA, or which one did you do?
I'm a range officer for USPSA,
So
and
you're
I
a range
primarily have
officer.
done those. Yeah,
Okay, so you've
but
been
I've done
involved
both.
in you've been involved in the USPSA side a little bit more heavily. But
Mhm.
can we talk about what you have described to me as the greatest instruction that you've ever received?
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Um,
the one and only Lena Michalek and
we
your
should.
time with her.
If it's okay, there's like one more thing I'd like to mention.
Oh, I guess we could. I guess we could. Go
I
ahead.
know. I'm sorry. I
No, you're
just
good.
I'm not doing it justice if I don't mention the people that help make the experience what it is for me, and that's the fellow competitors. There's
Mhm.
some people that go there with a complete competitive mindset, but there's also people that you meet there, and you know, I'm great friends with someone that's an upper extremity amputee, and he lives several states away. And I love just getting a text message of like, hey, I went out and I went to a match today, and being able to encourage other people, and having people that I'm friends with on, Instagram and Facebook, and I can send them a message. And because at the end of the day, all that someone in a wheelchair can rely on is their own self discovery. And we'll touch upon that in a second, because that is what Lena helped me really figure out. But yeah, just the people you meet at ADSS, for me, it's more than a 3-day event, because the friendships, the connections that I make, that that has been long lasting. But yes,
Okay.
the greatest instruction that I have received was Lena. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, let's tee it up because for those who don't know, Lena Michalek is a multi-time world champion shooter. Just went over to Thailand and just completely obliterated everyone. Stood on stage representing the United States of America. Has done her thing. Daughter of the great Jerry Michalek, who literally just released his custom Smith and Wesson revolver. This is not a commercial for his gun, but it is pretty sweet, and it's a limited run. I think they're making like 1,800 units. So if you really want one and you have like 3, 4 grand, you should probably just go get it right now. You know, it's an option. That said, Lena Michalek, world champion shooter, you had an opportunity to do a private lesson with her.
Yeah.
That happened. What the
Yep.
heck?
Yeah. When that was offered to me, I was like, wow, thank you. And I was very excited. Um, Lena she's just so nice. I know you have the opportunity to meet her. She's just like so real and down to earth. And it was awesome to be able to learn from her and just kind of talk, hey, what it's like to be a woman in the sport, and also just learn from her, because she's really is brilliant. She knows what she's doing, obviously, because the world titles don't, though they speak for, they're a reflection, I should say, of her skill set, in terms of that she knows what she's doing. But she doesn't just know what she's doing for herself, she knows what she's doing for other women and how to teach them. And so she just was like, we just were shooting together. She was having me do the drills that she trains. And I have the Rose Sig Sauer 9mm as my carry gun. And so we chatted about the Rose. um, and she definitely didn't go easy on me, and that's what I want. I don't, at times I feel like there's been people who think that it's like cool that I'm even involved
Mm,
in firearms. And so at times, do they hesitate on giving me feedback? I think so, depending on who it is. But that being said, I think I've learned to really tell people like, hey, give me everything. Like, criticize me. Go ahead. I'm not going to take it to heart. I'm going to grow from it. I think constructive criticism is something that we all should be open to. On the flip side, there could be a woman who receives that and that's going to turn them away, right?
Right.
So Lena quickly knew that we were very similar and that, she saw the passion and that we're both hungry for the sport and shared that joy of shooting. She, got down and knelt beside me and was just watching me shoot. She's like, "Okay, keep going," and was having me do the different drills
Mhm.
and telling me the time and keep going. And then she's like, "Hey, do you mind? Like, is there a reason why you're leaning forward when you shoot?" I guess I should mention I have a holster that mounts onto the chair, and that's what I primarily use for competition.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was leaning forward to draw, grab it. I would stay leaning forward, and I'd take like my first or second, sometimes third shot until I would lean backwards into my backrest of my chair. And I was like, "No, I'm not doing that on purpose. I didn't even know I didn't realize that that was what I was doing." And she's like, "Okay." She's like, "Because I'm seeing it's throwing your core off." And I'm like, "Oh." Like it's one of those, sometimes it takes somebody to tell you that you do something
Right.
that's annoying or, you know, uh, just disruptive, or I don't know, not
Right.
even disruptive, but just point something out. It can take like one person pointing that out for you to be like, "Oh, I do that? Oh my God, I do." Right.
Somebody
And
just did
so
that to me today.
yeah, it was it was that moment though. I was like, "Oh, okay." And so then I learned, and she's like, "Do you want to lean forward? Do you want to lean backwards? Like maybe you should be consistent with that." We talked a little bit, those who don't know, your spinal cord injuries, like your core and your ability to use your abs can be impaired. For me, that is. And so I'm like, "No, I don't like leaning forward. I feel more unsteady. It also hurts my back where I had the surgery, and it hurts my neck." And I'm like, "So I like to lean backwards." And she was like, "Okay, so let's lean backwards then, right?" So then we were playing with that. I got my draw down by a half a second
Wow. That's
in that
serious time.
in that lesson with her, yeah, and draw to the first shot. And I was quick to criticize myself. I'm like, "Oh, well, that one would have been like a delta." And she's like, "But that's a half a second that you gained to be able to take a better sight picture." And I'm like, "Okay, you're right." Like I'm my own worst critic at times,
Mm.
and definitely a perfectionist. But yeah, I loved that she analyzed. Okay, she didn't focus on like what it is that I don't have to work with, because for everyone who shoots, that shooting stance is huge. Um, that can change like how good of a shot someone is if they're standing wrong, or wrong for themselves, I should say. Everybody has kind of a different way. And in the seminars that I got to attend, I attended the one that Lena did for the Rose birthday event in January. She talks so much for the women about like pretend like your feet are the eagle talons, and stick your butt out more and spread your feet apart, or one in front of the other, like whatever feels right to you. And then we were going around and we had a partner and we were testing each other on if they're more stable by pressing against the blue gun that we would use, and see like, okay, does that, okay, you're stable, you're not rocking back and forth if you do this, but you are if you do that. And just really helping out the other women is what that seminar was, in addition to listening to Lena's instruction and her story and stuff. Um, but it got me thinking, shooting stance is huge. I don't have a shooting stance. And so I
Mhm.
never had anybody help me figure out a shooting stance. But in reality, I do have a shooting stance. It's just not a stance, right?
Right. Yeah, I
I
mean,
have,
that's such an interesting like concept altogether that
yeah,
yes, you can shoot, but most people either don't shoot from a seated position or don't enjoy shooting. Like we have to intentionally train for shooting at a seated position. This is all
right.
you know, but if you're receiving instruction from people who are um, able to, in a different way, we're standing, we're running, we're moving around, and all that stuff. So we focus on foot placement and all that stuff, right? Like you said, like eagle toes and whatnot. Like, what
Hmm.
does that mean to you? And
Yeah.
not to be rude or disrespectful to her teaching
Yeah.
style, but that doesn't mean anything to somebody who literally doesn't, like, you don't have access to that.
Right.
Like it doesn't
Well,
help.
and that's a conversation that we had. She didn't even talk about like shooting stance to me because it wasn't
Sure.
for
Yeah.
it was in the seminar I did that was for, a large group of people. So of course
Yeah.
she's gonna give, the instruction that way. And it's helpful for me to think of that too, because then if I'm with a friend at the range, I'm like, hey, try, go like, then I'll model it with my hands more.
Mm,
I'll be like, go like this a little more. Do you think that that's different? Let's see what that does. So it's still beneficial that I listen to that. But yeah, she helped me figure out what nobody else. I maybe they didn't pick up on it, or maybe they were afraid of offending me or something. But in reality, like, I can sit up, I can lean against my backrest, I can. She's like, pretend like you're pushing down to try to activate your core more. And I was like, oh my god, that's brilliant. Like, I don't just hold, the firearm out straight. I can push down and then engage the muscles in my arms more. So she
mhm,
really helped me. She kind of picked that spot in my brain of like, how can I use the muscles that I have to use to help me shoot better? Um, and then since then, I've learned that if I, you know, tie my legs together, um, currently my mag setup for competitions a tourniquet that I have strong magnets on each side of it, and I have them on that because I don't like that the mag belts, for one, there's a lot of them that get in the way of just like the wheeling motion for me, and also, the weight of it pulls,
mhm.
and that hurts my back. So she even pointed that out. She was like, "Try to come up with something." She's like, "Maybe like leggings that you like tuck your magazines in," because she could see that trying to reach up and lean, that would throw me off in terms of my core as well. So, um, yeah, she was just an incredible person to be around, and just overall a great, cool person. But she wasn't afraid to help me discover what I needed to discover, and kind of give me that push there. So,
Yeah. I almost wonder because sometimes you run into people and their online persona is it's similar but different, or sometimes it's completely different. Like, oh, this person when you see them on like on video, they're just amped up. Like, are they on crack? Or like, what are they on, right? And then when you meet them in person, you're like, oh, what's up, dude? Yeah, yeah, dude. And it's like real chill. I
yeah.
try to be the same person in person just because I don't have the energy to expend to pretend to be a character for y'all. And then
Mhm.
you meet me and it's just completely different. I just don't have the juice for that.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you've noticed about Lena that is like, hey, you know what, this is better, or this is different, or like, I don't know how much you followed her online, but is she? Is there something about Lena that maybe you wouldn't know, just like unless you actually met her?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know her, too well, but I don't think that she's putting on any persona that's not genuine. I mean, when she puts up her shooting at the range, I think that's her. I think that's what she gives out to her audience.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, everything was genuine. I mean, I respect Selena as a person and as someone that's knowledgeable, in firearms. And at the end of the day, is she this 9-time world champion that is a super cool human being? Yes, but she's a human at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, which I think that's awesome. And I don't want to make this the Lena Michelin show because we do want to talk about you, but I think a big part of the recent story was you getting that instruction and really being able to up
Mhm,
your game based on kind of what she was able to impart, just taking all
right.
that experience, that wealth of knowledge, and
Mhm,
even considering, okay, she's as smart as she is, she's a wit, she's all these things. But when you see her online, she's like happy and ugly and just goofing around, and also very sharp and
mhm,
clearly on top of it, like clearly
right.
like a machine, but like very human. And if you're
Mhm.
getting all that in just in one sitting, I can't help but imagine that that was like a highlight of the year at least, right?
Oh, I mean, I left SIG with the biggest smile on my face. It was just an incredible night, and it was great to have somebody validate, um, the skills that I have, and that, like, I can work with things to improve too. And that was really cool. Since then I took a reflexive shooting course at 6 Hour Academy, and I got my draw down to 1.02. And I think I was at like 3.5 seconds when Lena and I started our lesson. And then I forget what it was, but I know I got it down a half a second eventually,
That's
like after
insane,
we were
first of all.
troubleshooting stuff. So since then, I've kind of self discovered, um, like I've built upon. She gave me some stuff to think about, and then I've been training on my own, obviously, as I do, and competing and seeing, where can I apply those things and be mindful. And okay, did I take a bad shot? Was that my, how I have my arms? Was that my posture? Did I lean forward? Did I lean forward and shoot? It depends. So I had all that to. It's kind of in the back of my head as as I am able to reflect on how I shoot.
Let's talk about self-diagnosis, actually getting better in the world of shooting, and how
Mhm.
does one actually do that? For me, I record often when I'm shooting because if I'm shooting, I'm often trying a new gun or doing this or that, and so it seems like 7 times out of 10 I have a camera in front of me. Even if y'all don't see the footage, there's a camera
Mhm.
going, and that really helps me to see like, oh man, my posture, my shooting posture was trash. It was so bad. How did I get away with that?
Yeah.
Or yeah, I'm seeing my thumb is dropping. Like instead of kind of staying straight out, it's like literally like curling down into the
Mhm.
trigger guard, not like into it, but like under it almost. And I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh, I'm so glad I recorded that because I got to kind of be mindful of that. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just a one-time thing, but this is how I can start to self-diagnose and realize, like, okay, this is why these things happened. How do you do it? I mean, I assume you don't shoot by yourself often, but how do you say,
Mhm.
like, hey, I'm doing these things. This is how I get better. Can you just feel it, or what? What happens?
Well, the Adaptive Defensive Shooting Summit was my first competition. And then I started doing various competitions at SIG since then. Um, I think that competitions where I notice without even watching, I will ask someone if there's someone I know. I'm like, hey, you mind filming this for me? Or now I have a hat cam that I'm starting to sometimes use if I remember. And but even without that, I'm able to, you know, I show up to a competition. I just give it the best I can give it, and in practical shooting style competitions, just on the basis of, I have to, for those I guess who don't know, I have to pick several different spots, and sometimes it's 5 6. The most I had in one stage was 10 different spots that I had to engage targets in. I obviously cannot run around with my gun, like other people, so I have to draw, shoot, holster, move to my next spot. Um, and so, you know, through competition, I don't do it to win. If that was my, I don't do it um to be other people. It's a self-reflection, and just I enjoy it and I have fun. So that's why I do it. But I'm able to figure out and through competition, okay, the double taps that I did when I was training on a lane aren't I'm sucking at them today, right? Let me train more. Okay. I did good on the double taps. To that, then I did poor on the reloads. It it's for me as I mean, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more, but I've done some more like scenario training. But
Mm,
there's stuff I can do stationary on a lane, but you add in the adrenaline of, a competition and moving around and having to watch your hits or call your own hits. Um, for me, that's where I'll notice some stuff.
mhm.
It's not that I won't notice it via camera. I do, but I can pretty much tell in the moment, like, okay, that was, you know, my core strength, or my grip was slacking. Depends. Definitely more like multiple shots. I'd say the more targets I engage from one position, the harder it is for me with my core strength and also my support hand.
Yeah. Well, that makes some sense. That as you go into competition and you go through the stages, and if you record, you record. If you don't, you don't. You say, okay, well, I'm noticing I'm hitting deltas. I got a mic. Like, how did I miss? Like, what's
Mhm.
going on. Um, and then as you kind of recall, you can kind of self-diagnose and kind of coach yourself through. Um,
Mhm.
that's fascinating. That's just really so
Yeah.
interesting. You know, I would love to see some of my buddies who do competition shooting. Um, I guess maybe lend their thoughts to it. Obviously, your situation is unique,
Mhm.
but even in that, I want to ask. You know, obviously, we were talking about competition shooting. We're talking about how you're not even doing it to win necessarily. You're doing it to push yourself and to kind of ascend in that way.
Mhm.
Um, but are you seeing any other, ladies in the sport, shooting a sig? I mean, I know that you've mentioned in some conversations that you've had some um, colleagues in the sport or in the shooting arena, also, in chairs and whatnot. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's interesting. But how many girls are shooting in a chair? Like, is it just you, or is you and
Yeah.
like three other girls, or?
Um, ADSS, there's not many women that are there. But I think there was 5 of us, and I took High Lady at that, which was my first competition as well as my
Nice.
first. Uh,
Congratulations. That's
Thank you.
awesome.
My first ADSS, but yeah, I'm the only woman in a wheelchair in the competition, and most of the time, I'm also the only person in a wheelchair. I just put myself out there and I give it a go. I think you know in terms of competition and shooting sports and stuff, I think you get what you put in. And, if you show up, I don't know. I can't speak to this because like I don't show up to win and I'm not going to, right? Um, Against people that are amazing and that can run and shoot and you're just like humbled and it's oh my gosh, wow. Even watching them. But you know, there's people that are supportive and good company and you might meet people at a match and you get talking and they're like, hey, what other matches are you doing? And
Yeah.
you follow each other on Instagram and whatnot. um, and just kind of network, or you might see someone at the range practicing that you once met at a match and just get talking or say hello and stuff. So you meet some of the best people, and I observe just incredible instances of sportsmanship where someone won't hesitate to throw someone a magazine if they realize that they don't have
Mhm.
enough, or share some ammo. Um, just be good people, right? That being said, there's good company and bad company in all things that you do in life, and
Yeah.
so you know um, there's there's people without it even being directly said to me. I think it definitely get frustrated at times, that it might take me long. It does take me longer than other
Mhm.
people, or I might need a small thing changed. I don't expect a sport that's not designed for disabled people, or I should say that has a high uh, prevalence of disabled people, to like do a ton. But I think what there is respect, and that's what I want
Mhm.
from people. It's just the mutual respect. Like, hey, we're all here. We're all trying to have fun. Can we all have fun? Um, that's
Yeah.
that's what I think.
Yeah, I love that you said that, and I can really appreciate the positivity you loaned us, even in that statement where it's like, hey, even for the people who are a little frustrated, like, okay, we already have to go through the stage and do teardown and all these things, and now she's taking literally 5 minutes longer than anybody else, like, come
Mhm.
on, guys, we're here all day. Like, and I don't mean to like put that on you extra, right? But it's like the reality is some people are not going to be understanding,
Yeah.
and that sucks. But it especially sucks for them because they're not living their best life because they're so caught up in themselves that they can't, find the joy in giving that to you or somebody else in their life, right? Because
Right.
and I almost wonder, and I don't know how much you actually want to get into this, but
Mhm.
as somebody who's gotten some cool opportunities, like with Lena, and I know recently you did a deal with where you got some bags sent out from a brand who does like concealed carry bags and whatnot, and people are going to assume, right? People are going to assume like, oh my gosh, she's this big influencer now. When in
Mhm.
reality, you got like 500 followers on Instagram, which that's 500 more than some other people. But people are going to assume. I mean, I think you even have some friends who um, have like status, but people assume that they're being treated like kings and queens, right? And people
Mhm.
will probably assume that about you at times. Is that weird?
Yeah, I mean, you already hinted to it. I think it goes with, it's a poor mindset on that person's part, but not even directly with myself. I think the gun community at times, people, like, oh, so and so has a sponsor or
Yeah.
multiple sponsors, right? Like, oh, they're a cool person, like, let's buddy up to them. Or I don't know. I can only speak to my experiences. That being said, I've had people think that I have a lot of opportunities. In reality, they don't. I mean, I don't. I should say. I'm a member at SIG, and so there's things that I get to do there because I paid for the membership there.
Mhm.
Um, Lena was was the one opportunity that was separate from that. SIG has plenty of events open to the public as well, though. And Rose by Sig Sauer does
Mhm.
that as well. Um, all across the country currently, even.
Mhm.
So, in terms of, yeah, the Zendira bags were, um, I like, they're great. I was like, this is awesome,
Mhm.
that somebody wanted to send me that and have my thoughts and recognize that conceal carrying from a wheelchair that certainly comes with challenges. Um,
Mhm.
I think that it's hard in times because, and whether people are involved in the shooting community or not, I think we can all relate to this, right? Like I mentioned before, good company, bad company.
Yeah.
Um, who is your friend through thick and thin, right? Who's going to support you no matter what? For me, that's my family.
Mhm.
Um, are there people who, and some of this has been mentioned to me too, or I started to figure out on my own. Is there people that are going to kind of be friends and really might be a wolf in sheep's clothing and wonder what opportunities are going to come someone's way?
Right.
Are there people who are in the sport because they want opportunities and that's why they're in it?
Right. I mean, to get
You know?
sponsored, get a few free guns, like that sounds nice.
Yeah, but for some people that's why they're doing it.
Mm.
And um, I don't want to speak against anybody else, but personally for me, I'm in this because I want to empower myself. I
Mhm.
want to have fun. It's a hobby for me, it's a sport for me. I'm not doing anything with ulterior motives or intentions.
Yeah.
And I hope that I come across as genuine and welcoming to people in the community that meet me. And if I ever don't, then certainly not intentional. But yeah, there's some people who are all about opportunities, and just I'm just on my own journey, right? And what
Sure.
comes my way. That's how I
Well,
look at it.
level with me, because I mean, this might be considered a hard question, so just bear with me, okay?
Mhm.
You're in such a unique position. You're a young lady in a wheelchair. Um, you're young and spry in that way, um, and there's going to be some people who say like, "Hey, this is a great opportunity. Let's pay her $1 million to sponsor this brand and do this and this and that." And, oh man, well come shoot at our event and we'll fly you out to Tahiti and can you pose with her? Like if you play your cards right, maybe you've already played your cards right. Like you got this bag thing going on, right? Like if you play your card, this could be like a big thing. This could be a career. Like, is that what you? Have you ever thought about that?
No, I really haven't. Be honest, like I said, I just do stuff, some cool stuff sometimes, and sometimes I post it on Instagram.
Hmm.
That's kind of That is, and I don't, I've learned that I've inspired a lot of people, um, that whether I've met them online through, those who don't know, Rose Sig Sauer has an online community where women, in this Facebook group can empower each other and
Mhm.
support and share tips and stuff like that. So there's been some online acquaintances and stuff that I've met that way. I met some people in person at the seminar that we went to at SIG in January. And I also just have some friends in my life too. I didn't know that I was having an impact on people. I genuinely didn't. Like I said, I just sometimes post stuff on Instagram that I do. And it wasn't until, I heard from people that like they had a gun at home that they like didn't shoot often, right? And now they're taking training and taking it seriously because they were like, "Oh, like I should too." Or there's people who have told me that, "Hey, I signed up for a match." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yes. Like go it makes me so happy." Um, there's people I know that conceal carry. Um, and they said that it was because I kind of helped give them that push. Um, I don't know the impact I'm making on people until it's mentioned, I guess, that I am somewhat. And again, I think that I'm just a regular person. I've been through some stuff. I deal with some things, but at the end of the day, I think I mean, I've had people tell me that it's cool and oh, you're such a badass and like, um, but that's not. I'm just me. Um, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
and it's unique to, when I'm shooting, I don't think about, like, I didn't know it any as I could walk. So, it's unique to me in a wheelchair. Where there's other things in life, like grocery shopping from a wheelchair, trying to push a cart and like you can't reach the majority of things in a grocery store, right? Grocery shopping is one of those mundane things in life that like we all have to do it, right? Or some of us don't. I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
But that's something I think we can all relate to, right? So you can take grocery shopping, for example, and you know what it's like to grocery shop. But what if you're now can't walk, right?
Yeah.
What challenges does that pose? That doesn't run through my head when I'm shooting because I don't know it any other way. So it's cool. Like I can just adapt the best that I can and see how far I can take my firearms training. I don't know what it was like to not know it this way. And so for me, that's the most kind of empowering part where that I love is it's unique to the Michaela who's in a wheelchair. And hopefully that makes sense. Does it?
No, to me, it makes too
Yeah.
much sense, and it's probably the realest thing you said all day, which is crazy because you said some crazy things. Just and I want to touch on that because, like I said, I promised you we were going to go back in time, right? You said the Michaela today. Do you consider yourself two different people? The Michaela who did the figure skating and was going to school for pre med and all that stuff, not to share all your business, right? But
Mhm.
are you two different people, or is that like a bookend in your life going into a new phase or personhood?
Um, Not necessarily, but I mean, I think you can look back to yourself when you were as a teenager or
Mm.
early 20s, and then even maybe Aaron before you were a dad and versus Aaron now that you are a dad, right? We all go through things in life that kind of teaches us a little bit about like a priority shift or, you know, you appreciate things differently. I now don't get upset about I'm not like some huge, I don't know. I was never like, I don't like to think that I was ever had my priorities wrong in life, but I think I was focused on the future. And I can say that I certainly now live in the moment more. Um,
Mm.
I think one of the videos that you shared on your page was the one I already did, the, do it today because one day you can't.
Yeah.
Um, Reel that I have there on my page. that's more so my mindset is like I didn't necessarily have some huge bucket lists, but and there's not to say that like okay, I can't this is the end, I can't do things. That's not my
Mhm,
mindset, but there's certain things that I can't do anymore, right? Or my aspirations have switched. I
mhm,
think people can certainly grow through what they go through, or be shaped by what you go through in life. And um, yeah, I mean, I'm still the same person, but I've been through things that just have me look at the world and the things I do just a little bit differently, and I'm a lot more appreciative for some of the mundane.
yeah. Well, I feel like we've covered a lot of the main story, and
Yeah.
I'll have one more question, and I guess I'll prep the community who's listening to this by saying that after this next question, we are gonna, I guess, wrap things up unless there's like a point that you need to get out, and then we're
Mhm.
gonna move into our today's recordings, Gat Chat, which for those who don't know, is like show and tell with guns. The better the story, the better. The cooler the gun, obviously that's better. And you have some cool guns and some cool stories. So we
Mhm.
will, kind of talk about that a little bit. But it's going to be available to the people who are part of what we do on armedatlas.locals.com. It'll be published there. People can watch that for free. They just have to click into the link and watch it. But if you like, well, I want to watch it on YouTube, or I want to listen to the audio version of it, which you guys have to let me know if the audio version is just like undoable, right? You guys can listen to that a week later, pretty much. I'll publish that a week from the time that this comes out. So, my question for you, just right now, before we go into anything else, is you said, okay, well, I'm looking forward to today. I'm not looking 10 years in the future. Like, I'm trying to live in this moment. But do you have any plans? Like, are you saying, like, hey, I would like to do these things with the life that I have right now, with
Yeah.
the shooting opportunities right now, or more
Mhm.
outside of shooting, because you're bigger than just guns.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess this kind of ties in. One of the again why I love the Adaptive Defensive Shooting Summit is it connects the competitors to other opportunities. And so while I was attending, I'm like, what is that over there? That looks cool. And Mobius Mobility was there, and they sponsor lunch, and they had what's called an iBot wheelchair, and they were showing you got to demo it. And so I tried it, and it can go on stairs. It can go up to 8-foot slopes. It can go over all sorts of terrain. I observed competitors who have their own just sweeping through the sand like it was no problem. And I'm out there like, oh my gosh, someone help me.
Mm,
Because it's difficult for me to wheel in the sand. I certainly need help at times, more than not. And so I applied to the American Mobility Project, which is a 501(c)(3), and they gift mobility equipment to people. And I found out not long ago that the board approved me for an iBot. And so that was very exciting, and it is very exciting. And it's something that I will hopefully be getting not too far away from now. And, my bio and more about my story, um, just separate from the shooting part, is on their website if people are interested. But I'm really excited because that device is going to allow me to reach something in the grocery store. It can raise you up so you're eye level with people, to have conversations face to face and not feel like everybody's staring down at you. um, there's dog sports that I do with Tucker, and would like to get more involved in. You have to be moving fast, or the terrain is usually not accessible. That's just kind of how it is. That chair is going to pave ways for me to do opportunities, um, that I want to. So that's really cool. And outdoor range and outdoor competitions, hopefully, will be able to be possible, and I'll be able to move around and stuff. I'm definitely excited. I've had people ask me like, "What are you going to be at next?" And I'm like, I mean, we'll see what the iBot opens. in terms of that. So I'm beyond blessed and really grateful for the American Mobility Project and their donors that are making this possible. And I just can't wait for Tucker's face when we get to go fast together, and that I can be like running with him, um, because nothing makes me happier than my dog. Aside from being on a podcast, like that's what I do. I talk about my dog, and I like people who also talk about their dogs because dogs are just the best thing in life. But Tucker, has given me such independence, and he's just a joy for everybody who meets him. I think he has a lot of friends at SIG Academy and enjoys being there. So he's just a good boy. So yeah, we uh, we hope to get involved in those things, and
That's
we'll
awesome.
see.
That's really great.
Stay,
Thank you so much for
stay
sharing that.
tuned. I'll be posting a lot of
Yeah,
more of that on Instagram and stuff.
yeah. Like I was saying, thank you very much for sharing that, and hopefully we can make sure to clip that out and share that for people who
Hmm.
maybe would like to know a little bit more, and maybe that's something that they can share. Um,
Yeah.
and that'd be great because I think an organization like ADSS and American Mobility and those orgs really do need support, and they need
Mhm.
some publicity. And obviously, like, hey, you can hit share, but if you could like write a little comment and let people know why it's worth a read, why it's worth a donation, that's a little
Right.
bit bigger than just hitting a blank share for like a
Yeah.
brochure of like oh, we're doing an event. Okay, nobody cares. Like let
Right.
people know how
Absolutely.
this event has changed your life
Mhm.
or has changed the lives of people around you, because there's a lot of people who struggle with mobility. My grandmother, before she passed,
Mhm.
struggled with mobility, and for actually
Right.
for years she had a terrible incident where her feet were crushed by a bus, I guess, stair platform. It sucks, but
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, I mean, it happened, and
Yeah.
thank you. I appreciate your sympathy in that regard. But like, if she could have had something like that, I think it would have
Yeah.
really helped her, especially um, with some of the things that she really wanted to do. Like, even though she was immobile in many ways, she still wanted to get out and go buy gifts. And the amount of things she's like, oh yeah, I'm down the street at Brahms, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's like, man, that's crazy. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
just me
I
taking
mean,
a moment to relate.
yeah. I show up to events at times, and like I said, I'm the only person in a wheelchair or with an obvious disability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's just mostly me adapting. And like I said, I'll make some friends and just give it my best go. But having a summit where the purpose is for people with disabilities, you're around people that might not be the same as you disability wise. In reality, nobody's going to be the same because even every
Mm-hmm.
spinal cord injury is different. But you're all there on the same basis of you're all disabled, and the match directors and Trevor and his team approved that person to be there. And so there's no like, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with, it's just, you're just all there, you're
Mm-hmm.
having a good time together, supporting one another. And that really is the one competition that I can, uh I guess, I don't know what the right, fair competition isn't really the right word, but um where I can actually show my abilities against people that are the same in the sense of we're all disabled.
Yeah.
Because there's no movement like between different spots, and there's nobody, flying at the speed of lightning with the gun
Mm-hmm.
and running in that sense. So it's it's an event that's very near and dear to my heart, and I appreciate it, and I look forward to it every year. Uh,
No.
well, I went to it once, but I'm already looking forward to it. So
Heck yeah. I keep saying like, hey, we're going to wrap up here and do something else. I do have one more question. This is just the
yeah,
nature of me. As you start talking, I start thinking. I'm just like, ooh, question, right? So
good.
here's my question for you. And this is always a little weird. It's because the gun space can be kind of more like obviously conservative, and there's this weird like culture war type thing where it's like, if you try to shoehorn quote unquote diversity into a thing, it can become kind of, it doesn't always feel good. It's like, oh, we're just throwing things together and trying to, taking the main character and, oh, make him black, make him a woman, like all the things. And it's just like, this feels weird. Why are you guys forcing a thing? Make it feel original, make it feel thoughtful.
Mhm.
Do you feel that, this is like the segue into it, right? Do you feel that we are doing a good job, I guess, in the gun space or in the shooting competition space, or maybe we have room to improve,
Mhm.
uh, trying to include, I guess, diversity in the sense that, like, hey, you bring you're obviously different. Because, first of all, shooting sports doesn't have a lot of women at all. Like,
Mhm.
can we just
Yeah.
acknowledge that?
Yeah.
We also don't have a lot of obviously disabled people. We have this Battle Buddy 3 gun, the ADSS, and we love those people, and we want to support.
Right.
But you don't really see them on the cover of USCCA magazine. Like, that's not the thing. Do you desire that at all, or not necessarily for you, but do you hope that more companies can consider that kind of thing, or more hosting companies would come out and be like, hey, I think we should try to find a way. Like, what are your thoughts when I say these things?
Yeah. I mean, like I said previously, I kind of just do the things that I'm uh, welcome to do and participate in, and give it my all and have fun. I just want understanding, right,
Mm-hmm.
and respect. Even if there's not understanding, just the respect of like, hey, we're both people, right? Um, I don't know. I mean, I think that companies should do what they want to do, I guess. And if
Sure.
there's some, if there's you know certainly recognizing that there's people like myself, who exist in the sport. Um, I don't know. I don't think that would be a bad thing. Like I said, I'm not really, you know, I'm just in it for my own journey. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think I'd like more people that are disabled to know that this is something they can do, right? Um, they can do it for themselves. They can participate in these events that are specific to people with disabilities. And I think just in general, the Second Amendment community, I think it's an important conversation. And I hope that those listening can think about, this a little bit of how can we just be better, right? Um, you know, like I mentioned before, I'm one of those like give me your hard advice, give me your true opinion. For another woman that's or another person with disabilities, that might steer them away. I'm very
Mm-hmm.
good about like, oh hey, thank you for that feedback. Hey, I can't do it because of, you know, XYZ. But I appreciate that, right? Or I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, give me more. All right, thank you for that tip. Let me see what I can do with it. Um, in general, I think it's important that we're having these conversations. And again, I appreciate that you invited me on to talk a bit about myself and my journey because, should match directors and people that run gun ranges and facilities or even just competitors think about those kind of things because if you see somebody that's showing up that's a disability has a disability or even just a woman on their own, right? um, what can we do to be just more welcoming, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
everybody got their start in the sport and in the industry somewhere. People who, have world champion titles didn't get them without, putting the work in there.
Yeah.
um, and I think if conversations are to be willing to be had, I should say, um, I don't know what doors might open for me, right? Like I get asked by other people, like, why aren't you like, they can see that I have the passion to do more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be like, what else are you signing up for matches, or do you want to go train? Um, have you done, PSR, for rifles? And I'm like, no, it's like on my bucket list. I got to do it. Um, Or two gun, for example, I'll be like, hey, like, are you doing the two gun match? Someone will ask, and I'll have to, hey, I no, I not at the moment. It's not really on the table for me to participate in at the moment. Um,
Hmm.
and that's something where it's like, well, could there be a conversation to see can that be safely done? Because safety is my number one priority. If,
Yes.
I mentioned at times 10 different spots that I had to holster and shoot from, but I never want to be somebody that's unsafe with a firearm.
Hmm.
Between, concealed carry or competition, all of that, safety is my number one priority. If I can safely participate in something, I would like to. And, uh, you know, you alluded at the beginning, that class I took when I on the scenario based training course recently. You were like, "Oh, be careful," when I told you that that's what I was doing. But in reality, the other friend in a wheelchair that I took the course with, we were just kind of like, "Hey, let's just see what we can get out of it," right?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get out of the course what we put in, and the instructors there were amazing. I mean, they really didn't need to change up anything for us, but if they needed to tweak a drill or two, I've had that, be done for me. Or someone's like, "Hey, do you need help?" Like, I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I mean, either I sit this drill out, or does somebody want to push my chair for me? And in general, you meet just incredible sportsmanship and good people who are willing to help. But yeah, I was like, let me show up to that class with that friend. It helped, and what do I get out of it? Oh my gosh, I got so much out of it. I've,
Hmm.
you know, had conversations with my dad about what's our home defense plan, how can we change that? Friends that are women that conceal carry, men that
Yeah.
conceal carry. I'm like, push your training, consider these things. I was being, you know, a little bit of I don't know, probably not annoying in the grand scheme of things, but throwing what ifs at my sister, right? Like, what if this were to happen?
Hmm.
And at one of my friends, like, what's your plan? Um, and so I don't have a cap on my potential in terms of
Yeah.
my training. And, you know, is there stuff I can't do physically? Yes, right? I'm not going to be shooting on the move running, but what I can always improve. I think we all can. And, that scenario based training just really opened up everything from a mental perspective of concealed carrying and what comes with that. I mean, I really think any type of use of force or scenario based training courses, if people can find them and take those locally, I would really encourage it, because it taught me stuff that I thought I knew, but there was room for a better understanding, um, and that's definitely important there. So
Yeah. Dang. This has been really awesome conversation. Thank you so much for, obviously saying yes. This is your first podcast. Heck
yeah,
yeah. We got it done.
hopefully I did it
Yeah.
justice for you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, the listeners will have to let us know for real, but I really enjoyed this. And so if you guys have really enjoyed this, I'm going to try to remember to put Michaela's social media on the thing. I guess you guys can send her a message if you enjoyed this or got anything cool out of this. And if you guys want to email me directly for anything, info@costlymedia.com. Shoot me an email. Just say like, hey, I love the show, or I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I love the fan mail. Either way, it's fine. That said, Michaela, could you just please let people know where they can find you?
Yeah. My Instagram is Michaela Elizabeth, but I'm forgetting the exact. Okay, Michaela Elizabeth 17 underscore is my Instagram username. So you can see the uh, content I post on the feed or stories for, training that I do. There's footage from my first adaptive defensive shooting summit there, and I look back at those videos and I'm like, oh my god, girl, like take the shot. Like, why are you hesitating? but it really shows my growth. You can look at those, and then there's some more recent videos where I'm ripping it with my shots. So it's a good explanation. Like, none of us came from knowing everything, and there's still room to improve. And I'm always going to hold myself accountable to keep improving. So I appreciate you having me on here to tell my story there, and I appreciate those who uh, want to follow along and see what's to come and what else I accomplish. We'll see.
All right. Well, I guess now is the point where we'll end the main show for those who are listening. Like I said, guys, if you click through the links to armedatlas.locals.com, you can see the kind of like part two ish type thing that we do. Something called Gat Chat. If you've been following, you know what Gat Chat is. And we're going to kind of go through Michaela's collection just for a few minutes and just let her kind of explain what works for her, what doesn't work, the stories behind them. And that's going to be available now. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you are watching, there's actually a QR code on screen
There,
right
you got
there,
it. Yep.
and you scan that. You just take a screenshot, put that in your QR reader, or just take a phone, and however you want to do it. It actually takes you straight to the website, and you can watch that episode of Cat Chat for free. Um, it's just something we want to do for y'all. That said, thank you so much for watching or listening. This has been Costly Conversations. My name is Aaron, and keep it costly.